here, Senator Geis, Representative Polhutsky, the lawmakers and legislators who are here. But I want to take a second to thank everyone who worked to make this victory possible. This is a movement moment and movement victory. There have been community leaders and activists in every corner on both peninsulas of the state of Michigan who have stepped up, who have stood tall, and who have done the work for years to get us to this moment. There are leaders in the healthcare space who showed the courage of their conviction and their commitment to service, to women, and to humanity to deliver the care that people needed regardless of what happened, because that is what was so important. I want to thank them for making the resources available, making the information available, and for doing the work to keep people alive. I want to thank the attorneys and advocates who fought legal battle after legal battle after legal battle after legal battle, because this right has been under assault for a whole lot more than 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
But they never gave up. They played both defense and offense, and today we celebrate a victory.
Yes.
I want to go back to the policymakers and legislators here. It matters who is in your state legislature. Michigan is a demonstration of that, an illustration of that the entire country is paying attention to. They were ready to partner with Governor Gretchen Whitmer and I to use every tool at our disposal, using every tool that the voters of Michigan gave us to protect and expand reproductive rights for all. I want to thank the Michigan voters. The Michigan voters who showed up in record numbers to not only protect, but to affirm reproductive rights for every single person in the state of Michigan. And they did so proudly. All of you worked together and organized to make this happen. Today is about more than just getting this extreme, unconstitutional ban off our books. It is about showing gratitude and challenging all of us to continue to imagine an even bigger future with more possibility, with more rights and more opportunity. So thank you all for being here and being a part of marking this momentous occasion. And I now want to hand this podium and microphone off to the leader of Planned Parenthood in Michigan, Nicole Wells-Stallworth. This organization organized and won for everyone in Michigan. Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you so much, LG. And good morning to all of you here. My name is Nicole Wells-Stallworth, and I am the Executive Director for Planned Parenthood Advocates of Michigan. And I must say, I am so thrilled to be here with all of you. I have been a proud Michigander for my entire life. And I have to say, this is such an important day for Michiganders. And it marks a critical moment in a change of trajectory for our state. After nearly a century of a 1931 criminal abortion ban, this ban is finally being repealed. And now abortion providers will no longer have to fear that they could be criminalized for doing their jobs, for delivering the essential and life-saving health care that their patients need and deserve. Wow, what a day. If you will walk with me for a moment, I like to do something called down memory lane. Because let's just reflect a little bit on the journey that got us into this moment, which was talked about a little bit by the Lieutenant Governor. This time last year, we were all bracing the potential of an overturn of Roe v. Wade. And we knew that Michigan had this near total abortion ban on the books, and that we had to pursue every option and every avenue to protect abortion access in Michigan, it was a very serious moment. We were all bracing for that moment. And in May of 2022, the United States Supreme Court decision leaked, and we knew that we were facing a worst case scenario. The Supreme Court was planning to throw out the nearly 50-year precedent and remove a previously upheld constitutional right for the first time in history. Planned Parenthood spent the following months fighting in court to prevent the 1931 ban from going into effect, gathering signatures to amend the Michigan Constitution, and working to elect leaders like the ones you see up here to protect abortion access. And I'm going to be honest, we only hoped that at least one thing would work. But I'm proud to say and stand here with everybody today that we have won on all fronts. I think we can say that winning is the brand now in Michigan. And Planned Parenthood and Governor Whitmer won injunctions preventing the enforcement of the 1931 ban, and voters turned out in record numbers to enshrine reproductive freedom into the Michigan Constitution. And we flipped the legislature so that it's now a pro-sexual and reproductive health legislature for the first time in 40 years. And now we're striking that old law from the books. We are grateful to Governor Whitmer for her partnership, and to Senator Geis, and to Representative Pahutsky, and to Representative Young and Brabeck, and all of our other champions in the legislature who worked to repeal this ban. We know that this is just the beginning, but this is victory, and our work is far from over. We still are facing attacks on sexual and reproductive health care from those who seek to undermine our ability to make our own bodily decisions and our health care decisions and decisions about our future. But today, we celebrate. We celebrate this moment, and we draw strength from it. We celebrate the power of grassroots organizing and speaking out and refusing to be silenced. We celebrate the resilience of people who have been fighting for reproductive freedom for decades and who will continue to fight until every person has the freedom to make their own choices. Let us continue to acknowledge and unify around the notion that we have a responsibility to ensure that everyone can access the health care that they need, and abortion is health care. They deserve to access this health care regardless of their zip code, their income level, and we must continue to fight for policies that expand access to reproductive health care, including STI treatment, birth control, and abortion care. But today, let us celebrate this victory. Let's celebrate the power of the voices and our collective action. Let us recommit ourselves to the work ahead, knowing that together we can build a world where everyone has the freedom to make their own choices about their bodies and their future. Thank you. And with that, I'd love to bring to you my friend and one of our distinguished and esteemed champions, State Senator Erica Geis.
Wow, turn this way. Thank you, Nicole. As you've all heard, as you all know, today marks a culmination of a years-long attempt to repeal this 1931 law. Back in 2018, I introduced the first language aimed at repealing the anti-abortion, anti-contraception, anti-reproductive health laws from 1931. And I put it all in that framework because this is more than just about protecting abortion. It's about protecting all of our reproductive health care rights and access. But today, we strike down these laws that serve to stymie the freedom of people to have the bodily autonomy to manage their own sexual and reproductive health once and for all. I'm also going to take us down memory lane a bit, but I'm going to go way, way far back. Because it's unconscionable to us in 2023 to think that just 12 years after Michigan became one of the first states to ratify the 19th Amendment, securing more rights for women, that a legislature composed of only men in 1931 would literally seek to restrict the right to bodily autonomy of those very same women by prohibiting and silencing their ability to handle everything related to women's reproductive health. What's described in the 1931 law as chronic female complaints or private diseases. So we're talking about a law that prohibited sharing or publishing information about everything from menarche to menopause, including contraception, STIs, menstruation, pregnancy, miscarriage, and yes, abortion. Ain't that some government overreach? And while the 1973 Roe v. Wade SCOTUS ruling muted this broad-reaching, draconian, and punitive law and its companions that were surreptitiously tucked into the penal code, they still sat there on our books until today. I am so grateful to have a governor and be part of a legislature interested in protecting reproductive freedom, securing reproductive justice, and ensuring that people's bodies and reproductive health decisions are their own, unburdened by the thoughts, whims, sincerely held beliefs, dictates, and desires of individuals whose business it isn't. Today reflects the will of the people, and we stand on the shoulders of the people and organizations, many of you in here, that have been fighting for protecting the full range of reproductive health, including abortion, for decades. Now, also, as a Black woman, keenly aware of the history of Black women not having bodily autonomy and being subject to gynecological abuse, being longer than the years of having any semblance of it in this country, I confidently say, today has been a long time coming. Yeah. Of course, as you've heard, there is much more work to be done. But this is a start at ensuring people have the freedom and bodily autonomy to control their reproductive health without governmental intrusion. Last June, we learned that Roe was not protected. But today in Michigan, however, today, reproductive freedom, including access to abortion and the bodily autonomy to control one's reproductive health, are. Thank you, and I turn it over to Minnie.
Wow, good morning. Good morning. My name is Minnie Tamaraju, and I'm the president of NARAL Pro-Choice America, and I am thrilled to be here this morning. You know, I came to Michigan with LaFonza and a bunch of our friends last November to campaign and make it clear, abortion was on the ballot. Prop 3 was on the ballot. Reproductive freedom champions, like the folks behind us, led by Governor Whitmer, they were on the ballot, and the state legislature was on the ballot, and our most fundamental rights and freedoms were on the ballot. And when I was here, a lot of naysayers and pundits inside the Beltway guys said, well, we don't really know if voters care that much about abortion. I know we can laugh about it now, right?
They can laugh in Wisconsin.
Right. Oh, my God. Hey, let's give it up for Wisconsin for a minute.
We are in reproductive freedom territory now, y'all. We are. Yep, exactly. Michiganders rose up, and with a powerful voice, they flooded the polls and they said, we're voting for our freedom to decide. We're voting for Prop 3. We're voting for Governor Whitmer and reproductive freedom champions up and down the ballot. And look at where we are now. Today would not have been possible without your hard work. All the tremendous leaders, advocates here in Michigan who have fought for years to make sure everyone in Michigan knew what was at stake in the election because voters knew it mattered. They went to the polls, they voted, they spoke out, and it's because of those votes that we are all here right now making history together. So as we are building this new future, a better future where all of our families have what they need to thrive, it is only possible because we elected champions for our freedoms. NARAL Pro-Choice America and our 125,000 Michigan members, we want to thank you, Governor. We want to thank you, LG. We want to thank you, Senator. We want to thank you, Representative. We want to thank you. For years now, your work and dedication and hope have paved the way for this moment. We are thankful for that work and excited for the work that will come. I just want to add a note. I talk to the press weekly at the national level and local about all of these races, and we get a lot of questions like, 17 abortion bans and counting. What is there to be hopeful for? How do you look forward to the future? And we always point to Michigan. We have more states passing abortion access laws than states with bans. I just need you to remember that. Okay? When we go straight to the people are with us, 8 out of 10 Americans. So we are winning, even when it feels like we're losing. Remember this moment, because we are winning and we're going to finish the job across the country. Michigan has proven we don't have to be afraid of standing up for our freedoms. We can be bold, we can be brave, we can be proactive, and we can fight for abortion and so many other things, but we can win on abortion. So today, let's celebrate this incredible win to fight to protect and expand abortion access. It's not over yet, but we have a long way to go, but we will be here with you, fighting by your side until we truly have across the country reproductive freedom for everybody. So, congratulations, Michigan. And it's my pleasure to introduce my very dear friend and sister in the fight, LaFonza Butler, the president of Emily's List.
Woo!
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is nothing like getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to leave Washington, D.C., to come to Detroit to be a part of a historic celebration like this. Thank you so much, Governor, for inviting me. And Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, all of the leaders of the Michigan State Legislature and community, Planned Parenthood, we are standing on your back. Healthcare providers, doctors, you have carried us so far, and we all owe you so much. So thank you so much. As the president of Emily's List, the largest organization and national and resource for women in politics, I got on that 6 o'clock flight from Washington, D.C. to come here to Michigan to not congratulate you, but to thank you for the rest of the country. Who would have thought 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, that we would be, as Democrats, looking to Michigan and Kansas and Wisconsin and Montana and Kentucky, we could keep going, to be on the front line of protecting reproductive freedom for women across this country. But because of the work that you did, because of the leadership that you elected in this state, because of her tireless commitment, because of their demand for change, we're not just talking about
Michigan, we're not just talking about California or New York. We're talking about Michigan being at the front line. And so I didn't come to say congratulations. I came to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you for leading on behalf of so many who have lost hope, who have felt unheard, who have felt excluded. At the same time, we were celebrating the 50th, what would have been the 50th anniversary of the Roe versus Wade decision. We were also recognizing it was the anniversary celebrating the 50th year when Shirley Chisholm ran for president. Yeah. That same year. And when she ran for president, she also was the first honorary co-chair of NARAD. She was a demonstration of the intersection of what it is that we are all fighting for and what Michigan put forward just this year and why we are here today. The demand for reproductive freedom for all. So we are in this moment not just to celebrate what the leadership that you have elected, the work that you have done that brought us to this moment. We are indeed here to stand on the shoulders of 50 years of work of every woman of all color and demographic and race and class who have been depending and demanding this country to recognize their humanity for generations. And so I didn't come to say congratulations. I came to say thank you. When I was here, many, and this is the last point that I will make, many mentioned that we were here as national organizations because so much of the country was focused on what could be accomplished in Michigan in the last election cycle. And we were a part of, I'm sure, everybody who was doing anything on elections who were coming to Michigan last year. And at the museum, the governor held an event, and I offered some comments that invoked the voice of the daughter of Detroit, Aretha Franklin. And I offered those remarks because Aretha gave us so many years ago some clear instructions that were very much suited for last year's moment, where the daughter of Detroit told us that we better think. She told us very clearly, she gave us real instruction. And I didn't come to say congratulations. I came to say thank you because Michigan, you took her instructions and you thought about who would represent your values. You thought about who would fight for your children. You thought about who was going to stand in the gap to build the economic opportunities that Michiganders deserved. And so this country owes you an incredible debt of gratitude for seeing the humanity in our daughters and women who have fought before them, for understanding that as women we have a critical role to play in representation in our government, and that when we are at those tables, when women run and when they win, they change the world. So thank you, Michigan, for doing that. And I have the honor as a non-Michigander to introduce another real hero in this moment, for this moment. It's my honor to bring up Representative Potosky, who has been a leader on this issue, and we are so grateful for your leadership. Thank you so much.
I don't want to mess that up, but we already know I need to adjust it. So, good morning. Thank you all for being here on such a momentous day. And I say momentous because until extremists cease their relentless attacks on abortion and allow people with uteruses to make their own decisions regarding reproductive health care, every day like this will be cause for celebration. Yes. I want to start by thanking Governor Whitmer, Senator Geis, Representative Stephanie Young, who isn't with us here today, and Representative Felicia Brayback for their selfless and tireless work on this bill package. I'm fortunate to get to work with all of you, and the state is fortunate for having you serve. When I first introduced HB 4006, the bill to repeal Michigan's 1931 criminal abortion ban at the beginning of this year, I found myself misjudging and frankly downplaying the importance of it. After all, Michiganders had just enshrined the right to reproductive freedom in our state's constitution, a decisive protection that cannot be undone by a simple legislative majority that rendered the ban unconstitutional and ineffectual. Removing the ban from our books seemed mostly like a logical and intuitive and responsible step to clean up our statute. But the more I spoke about the bill leading up to the vote, the more I reflected on the certainty with which many people felt the question of abortion was settled by Roe v. Wade and how calamitously wrong that was. I found myself recalling the dark days between the Dobbs decision and the November election, where Michiganders would wake up having their bodily autonomy protected by an injunction, just to have a court ruling throw that into question by lunchtime. Additionally, the rhetoric that legislative opponents used during committee and floor debates on HB 4006 just further solidified the significance of its passage. Rather than admit that the passage of Prop 3 stood as a clear mandate for Michiganders that wanted this draconian law repealed, opponents began to assert that this law's purpose was actually to protect pregnant people, and that repealing it would actually leave no protections in place. Yeah. They even testified in committee that even with Prop 3 in place, given the opportunity, they would use this law to prosecute people today for seeking health care. Now, everybody in this room knows that that's BS, but I don't like liars. So, I'm going to say this part anyway. The 1931 criminal abortion ban was actually first put on the books in 1846. That's how old and abhorrent this law is. And then it was codified in 1931. We codified a lot of really bad stuff in 1931. The governor's going to get tired of having to deal with stuff from 1931. I'm ready. But documented debate around both its 1846 origin and its 1931 codification exist. They're accessible, and they make it clear that this law was never about the health or safety of anyone. It was created by men in power to control and stifle the independence of women, plain and simple. And I'm not going to lie, it's really satisfying that there is a group of women holding power that are about to repeal it. The point is, abortion opponents are trying to muddy the waters and confuse both voters and patients using the same fear-mongering that they have relied on for decades. And repealing this law gives them one less tool with which to do it. What's more is that we cannot allow archaic laws to remain on the books under the assumption that they'll never be used again. We don't know what the future will hold, and we don't know what plans abortion opponents have to once again remove protections for Michiganders. What we do know is that today, right here, we have the ability to right a wrong from 177 years ago, and I am proud and grateful that we are doing just that. So as good as today is, and it's very good, but I haven't asked for all of us. Don't let the good days make us complacent. Because the people that want to continue stripping away abortion protections are not going to get complacent, and they are not going to get tired. So we can't let victories fool us into thinking that the work is done. This repeal didn't happen because of one legislator, one administration, or even one election. It happened because of years and years of activism and policy work, and the people in this room who gathered signatures even when it was uncomfortable and scary and intimidating, and knocked doors until their knuckles hurt. That is why we are here today. But this is also far from the end of the story. Repealing this ban ensures that it can never again be used to criminalize basic health care. But we also have a duty to ensure equitable access for that health care for every Michigander. So today we are going to celebrate this success, but tomorrow the work continues. Yeah. Thank you, and I'm going to bring up Dr. Young.
It's not the typical setting for a physician. Good morning, and it is a privilege and an honor to be at this historical moment right now. My name is Dr. Omar Young. I'm a proud board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist, and I want to say that it is an honor, and I'm very proud to be a practicing physician in the state of Michigan right now. Before I get started, I want to acknowledge and thank all of my colleagues in the healthcare community who sacrifice their safety, their well-being to provide adequate health care, reproductive care, and abortion care. They face stigma, harassment, violence on a daily basis, and they're working right now doing excellent care for women when they're making a very private, vulnerable, difficult decision every day about their reproductive health care. So I want to acknowledge my colleagues who are not in this room. As a physician, it's my duty to provide the best care that I can provide to achieve the best possible health outcomes for my patients. Doctors believe in trusting our patients to make their own healthcare decisions, not leaving those decisions to politicians. And when complications come up in pregnancy, we must be able to practice the full range of those treatment options we've been trained to do over many years to protect our patients' health outcomes. When the Roe v. Wade decision was reversed with the Dobbs decision last year in June, doctors like myself were concerned that Michigan's dangerous 1931 abortion ban would soon go into effect. We were concerned that we'd no longer be able to protect our patients' health to the best of our own abilities. We were concerned for women across the state of Michigan. Now we don't have to fear our patients' safety and freedom anymore. By repealing this ban, we're ensuring that my patients can make their own decisions around pregnancy and their health in private, the way that medicine should be practiced. By repealing this ban, we're ensuring that my patients and women across the state can receive the health care that they need to do to have proper well-being and to stay alive. Doctors like myself are grateful to the Michigan legislature for passing this bill to ensure that we can practice adequate and ensure access to adequate health care across abortion care and reproductive health care. I'd like to now introduce my champion for my patients and women's reproductive health care across the state, Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you. I just want to start with gratitude as well. I'm so grateful that the people of Michigan, in their wisdom, passed a constitutional effort to protect reproductive rights. I want to thank the legislators who got this repeal to my desk. I want to thank the stakeholders who do the hard work every single day on behalf of the women and our families in Michigan. I want to thank NARAL and Emily's List and Planned Parenthood, who all have been in this fight for decades in this country. And this shows we can win it. I think a battalion of really energized women is hard to beat, but I'm awfully glad we got some good men along our side, too. Right? And Dave Coulter's loudly clearing his throat here, so I want to make sure I don't. In your beautiful pink tie, Dave. I thank you. But, you know, this is the doctors and the healthcare workers, the women and girls and our families who came out, who were vulnerable during this debate as we went into an election, sharing stories, telling people what this meant. I'm so grateful to all of you and for the 750,000 people that signed the petitions at the ACLU and Planned Parenthood and an army of volunteers we're working to collect. Thank you as well. Today we're going to take action to make sure that our statutes, our laws reflect our values and our Constitution. I'm excited today to be signing a bill that will repeal our extreme 1931 law that bans abortion and criminalizes nurses and doctors for just doing their jobs. This is a long overdue step, and it proves that when we keep fighting to protect everyone's ability to make their own decisions about their bodies, we can win. During the conversation around these laws, I was asked often about this trigger law, and I had to explain, no. This is not a trigger law. This is a zombie law. This predates Roe and is at threat of coming back to haunt us all, right? The road to get here took a lot of hard work. Since the day that we lost Justice Ginsburg, late in 2020, I think we all knew that an anti-abortion majority in the U.S. Supreme Court was likely. We knew that Michigan had a law from 1931, over 90 years ago, still on the books, that would have banned abortion without exceptions for rape or incest and put nurses and doctors behind bars for doing their jobs. It infuriated me to think that my daughters and every young person today would have fewer rights than I had my whole life growing up. That's why we took proactive steps to protect reproductive freedom. Before the Dobbs draft came out, we had filed a lawsuit here in Michigan to ask our court to recognize that Michigan's Constitution protects this fundamental right. And as a result of that lawsuit and Planned Parenthood's legal work, we ensured that not for one single day access to abortion was not available to women. I said day, not minute, because we did have a few minutes there that where we were rushing to court, but we won. We won. By dinner time, we were back. But it still stung when Roe was reversed. It didn't feel real. It was a fundamental right that was afforded to Americans for nearly 50 years. It's virtually my entire lifetime. It was stripped away. People were going to die and are dying in this country because of this ruling. Healthcare providers would be threatened here in Michigan or thrown into jail. So many states began taking even more draconian steps to restrict abortion. Bans at 8 weeks, 6 weeks in Florida. At the moment of conception in some states, 0 exceptions. Many of these extreme policies are now laws in these other states. Some went further. A group of state lawmakers in South Carolina introduced legislation last month that proposes the death penalty for anyone who seeks abortion care and gets it. The fact that any elected official feels emboldened to advocate for these heinous bills restricting access is cruel and disturbing. Those types of laws are un-American, anti-freedom, and frankly sickening. In Michigan, though, we've taken a different approach. Before we got to this moment, I had already signed an executive order instructing state departments to find ways to increase access to reproductive health care. I signed another that refused to extradite women or health care providers for seeking or providing reproductive health care here in this state. We launched efforts to educate Michiganders on where to find contraception. We expanded access to family planning services for 200,000 Michiganders. We called on big tech to protect digital privacy, especially personal health data. Organizers, activists, citizens in Michigan sprang into action too, launching the drive for Prop 3, which ended up collecting the most signatures of any in history. And in November it passed, and we spoke with one clear voice. No one is going to restrict our reproductive rights and freedom in this state. No one. Abortion rights are now enshrined into our state constitution. And the way we did it was by listening to people, holding roundtables on this subject in every region of our state. We spoke to Michiganders everywhere, from many different political backgrounds. We saw that abortion is and always will be a kitchen table issue. I don't ever want someone from the press to ask me again, should we talk about abortion or the economy? If you don't think abortion is about the economy, you might not have a uterus, right? We know that the decision when and whether or not to bear a child is the most consequential decision economically that a family or a woman will make in her lifetime. The government has no business getting in the way of conversations between women and their doctors. So what happened here was not a fluke. We saw proof of that last night in Wisconsin, where abortion rights was once again on the ballot. Wisconsin, it was a 10-point victory in Wisconsin, right? Some people from out of state sometimes ask me if I'm from Wisconsin. I think they think our accents all sound alike. But I would be proud to be on this day, that's for sure. So, we also are seeing proactive steps to protect abortion rights in Minnesota, thanks to my friend Governor Walz and his state legislature. I want to congratulate Governor Evers and all the work that happened in Wisconsin yesterday. I want to congratulate Governor Laura Kelly in Kansas. It shows you that leadership matters, right? So while we all are moving forward, there are a lot of states that are moving backwards on access to health care and personal freedoms. Midwesterners, though, have shown we are the practical people we always knew. We don't get discouraged, we get to work. We will always be a safe, welcoming place for you to live, for you to raise your family, to be free, and to be safely who you are in this state. So to all the women and girls and our allies in states that don't value you or your rights, maybe you should come to Michigan. To all the LGBTQ plus community who are live in states who don't value you or your rights, maybe you should come to Michigan as well. So today is a day of celebration, but it is also a moment to remind us all our work is not yet over. We're still awaiting a decision from a judge in Texas who could ban mifepristone. Banning it would impact access to abortion for women all across this country and girls all across this country. Meanwhile, while we continue to expand, we cannot for 1 second, as Representative Plahetsky said, take a breather or take a nap on Michigan. We know that this fight continues. But I also know this. After the last year that I have lived through, I can tell you we are going to win this fight. We just stay organized, we stay vigilant, we stay active, and we work together. So, who would like to watch me slay a zombie? I am about to slay 3 zombies with 1 pen. Let's do it.
Better than The Walking Dead. Right
In case you were wondering. Look how small these ones are. That's like, hi.
Good idea.